Thank you everyone for joining. I am talking today about focus. Where is our focus? The last week or so, I've been really distracted by a lot of things. They're not bad things, they're just things that are taking my attention and my time away from God, the way that I normally have been giving it to Him. And Hebrews 12:2 says, looking unto Jesus, so fixing our eyes on Him, the author and finisher of our faith. That's a good reminder. It's all Him. He authored our faith and He finished it. He didn't start it and we finish it by our works. He started and He finished it. It's His plan. Remember that. Looking to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy set before Him endured the cross. Okay, happiness and joy are two different things. Happiness is more of a surface emotion that you get from situations. Joy is deeper. You can be grieving in something but still have joy in your heart. And Jesus, even though He wasn't outwardly happy on the cross, obviously, for the joy set before Him, He endured the cross, despising its shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. He knew that He was going to redeem everyone in the past 4,000 years of biblical history who put their faith in God. Galatians 4:5, He redeemed those that were under the law, and then He saved everyone after that put their faith in Him, which would be us as Christians. But looking to Jesus, fixing your eyes on Him. In Matthew 6:22, it says, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, and that Greek word means be undivided focus. Undivided. We're not pulled around and distracted. Undivided focus. If your eye is single and focused, the whole body will be full of light. Because we keep our eyes fixed steadily on Jesus, like Hebrews 12:2 says. And Jesus said in John 8:12, I think, He said, I am the light of the world. Not a light. He's not one of many. He is the light of the world. We focus our attention and fix our eyes undivided on Him, and we're filled with light. We get understanding, we get revelation, we get disclosure, we get God revealing things and helping us and teaching us and growing and exposing. He's doing that when we focus our eyes on Him. But if our eyes are pulled around, Matthew 6:23, if the light that is in thee be darkness, so you think you have light, it's what it's saying. You think you have understanding. You think you have revelation and wisdom, but it's actually not from Him. It's therefore darkness. Because here's the thing. Darkness is not an actual thing. Darkness is merely the absence of light. Light is a thing. But if you don't have light, you're only left with darkness. So if you think you have the light, but it's something other than Jesus, it says how great that darkness, how great that deception. Don't let that be you. Now, I asked my kids recently, they love video games, like they're kids. I said, can you play a video game if you're not looking at the screen? And they said no. And it said, like, God just put this in my heart. You cannot follow Jesus if you're not fixed on Him. If your eyes aren't set, how are you going to follow Him if you're not watching Him? If you can't play a game without looking at the screen, how are you going to follow Jesus without looking at Him? Think about it. Think about it. What the enemy wants to do, the enemy can't stop you from getting saved. They can't take your salvation away, but they can hinder you to the point where you're not bearing fruit for God. In Matthew 13, there's a bunch of parables, including the parable of the sower and the seed. And I'm not going to go into it now, but the sower sows the same seed on 4 different types of soil. And he gets a different result each time. On the third type of soil, you see that it sprang up, it grew up, but it didn't bear fruit because the weeds and thorns grew with it and they choked it out. They shaded it, it didn't get enough light, it took the moisture, the nutrients out of the soil, and it grew up, but it didn't bear any fruit. And it says in Matthew 13, verse 7 and 22, some seed fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that hears the word, and the cares of this world. That Greek word for care means anxiety, worry, care. You know, the things that we fear and stress and dread. Those things choke you out so you don't bear fruit. Because when you're afraid, you won't walk in faith. And it's only when you're walking by faith that you're going to start producing things that are meaningful for God. So the cares, worries, anxieties, the stress, the fear of life, of relationships, finances, work, politics, the world, everything. All that kind of stuff, it takes your heart, your time, your attention away from God, and you're not going to bear fruit. So that's one sneaky tactic of the enemy. If they can't stop you with sin and with whatever, they'll just start throwing things at you. Or even just distractions. They'll start distracting you with things that aren't like sports, things that aren't bad in themselves, but they take your time, your heart, your attention away from Jesus. And you're only going to grow to the extent that you devote yourself to God. Draw near to him and he will draw near to you. Our growth isn't just an automatic thing that you can assume. Our spiritual growth depends on how much time and effort and heart we're giving to Jesus, how much we're sincerely giving him. So the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word and he becomes unfruitful. And the deceitfulness of riches, that's an interesting one, because riches themselves aren't deceitful. Aren't bad. Riches aren't bad, sorry. But they are sneaky. They do trick you because you think that you have power and security with them. And our power and security comes from God. We can lose everything in a moment. You like Job did. You don't know when you're going to lose it. Your power and your security are always in God, first and foremost, and only. They're in God. But riches will trick you, and you find your security in that instead of in God. One last thing about focus that I want to touch on. Matthew 14, Jesus is walking on the water towards his disciples, if you know this parable, verses 22 to 36. And not a parable, sorry, the story. They see Jesus walking on the water. They think it's a ghost, and they all freak out. Jesus says, "Don't worry, it's me." And Peter says, "Lord, if it's me, then let me come to you." And Jesus said, "Okay, come on." And Peter stepped out of the boat and he walked on the water. He did the same thing Jesus was doing. And it's easy to judge Peter because he denied Jesus the night that Jesus was arrested. But how often do we deny Jesus? It happens a lot. The stakes were high for him. I'm not excusing him, but his life was on the line. Whereas we deny Jesus over so much less because somebody might laugh at you or not like you. And Peter literally walked on the water. He walked on the water, but as soon as he took his eyes off Jesus and he noticed the waves around him, verse 30, but when he saw the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, "Lord, save me." And the next verse, I love this. Immediately, Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him. Immediately. Jesus doesn't let his children sink and die. He grabs you and he pulls you back up, right? He doesn't berate you or like, "Oh, you're terrible." He's just like, in Peter, he was like, "Why did you doubt? You're doing so good." But that's what he does. Get up, try again. Get up, try again. But keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Peter only walked on the water as long as his eyes were on him, on Jesus. But as soon as he looked at everything around him, the chaos, the danger, the risk, everything around him, fear filled his heart. And you can't have faith and fear at the same time. Fear overrides faith and faith overrides fear. It depends which one you choose. And the fear overrode his heart and he sank. But as long as you have faith and you don't let the fear, the distractions, the worries, anxieties, and cares, if you don't let them take place in your heart, then you're going to do the impossible. Your faith will override the natural world and you're going to see the miraculous happen. So I hope this was an encouragement to you guys. It's something that I had to relearn this last week, just getting my focus back on God. Like with my kids, again, you can't play a video game without looking at the screen, and you cannot follow Jesus without looking at him. You need to give him every day, even throughout the day, multiple times. You get with God in prayer, worship, scripture, with other believers. Whatever you're doing, you're feeding your spirit, and you're keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus. And get in his word. Psalm 119:105 says, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path." God gave us his word as a map to show us how we get from A to B, to explain things and give revelation, to speak to us, and to be a lamp for us, to help us in our walk with him. So I hope this is encouraging. I know it's something I needed to relearn. I hope that it helps keep you guys fixed on your walk with Jesus. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a great week, and God bless.